Welcome to another round of Month in Data, in which we look at the numbers behind some of this month's trending stories. In April, US President Donald Trump announced sweeping tariffs, framed as being essential for national security, addressing trade imbalances, and protecting American industries. Citing a desire to revive the declining manufacturing sector in the US and boost jobs, the so-called Liberation Day tariffs saw most imports hit with a baseline 10% tariff, although several high-profile countries received far higher rates. In a dramatic change of policy, just 1 week later, Trump said a tariff of 10% would be placed on imports from all countries that had not retaliated until July, except China, for which tariffs of 145% would apply. In response, China hit back with a 125% tariff on all US imports, as well as imposing restrictions on rare earth exports, critical materials for US tech and defense, in a world that is highly dependent on China for such minerals. Beyond vital metals, trade between the two nations is broad and ranges across numerous sectors. The surge in trade protectionism has knock-on effects throughout the global economy, potentially leading to a global economic slowdown. Comparing the IMF forecasts of January to those made in April, the US saw the biggest downwards revisions, but countries such as Canada, Japan, and the UK all saw significant drops. As part of the international reaction, global trust in US products appeared to drop during the month. This trend was first noticeable following the tariffs imposed on Mexico and Canada earlier in the year. Consumers in Mexico showed an intent to avoid goods made in the US or sold by US companies, while in Canada, a rise in anti-US sentiment among consumers was evident. Since then, many countries have equally viewed the tariffs as protectionist and unfair, prompting further backlashes. However, it is not confined to just a boycott of goods and services that could have a damaging effect on the US economy. International tourists are also rethinking their travel plans to the US following the Trump administration's recent actions. There has already been a noticeable decline in international arrivals, particularly the number of travelers from across Europe. Travel and tourism makes up around 9% of GDP in the United States, meaning that slowdowns will have a significant economic impact. In April, experts suggested the combined impact of American goods, boycotts, and fewer tourists could cost the nation as much as $90 billion in lost business this year alone. Away from the world of international trade, April is also marked by the celebration of Easter. Around the world, people gathered with their families and engaged in a variety of practices and traditions. For many children, and also adults, Easter goes hand in hand with chocolate Easter eggs. This is of course a major driver for the chocolate industry, which made over $133 billion worldwide in 2024 and is on track for an estimated $140 billion in 2025. But this year, consumers had to put up with a new hurdle. The price of cocoa skyrocketed worldwide, forcing companies to increase chocolate prices. This was caused mainly by bad harvests in West Africa, particularly in Côte d'Ivoire, the world's largest cocoa producer, where heavy rainfall and plant disease ravaged crops. Easter 2025 was marked by a layer of sadness for Catholics around the world as millions mourned the passing of Pope Francis. Hailing from Argentina, Pope Francis was the first pope from Latin America out of the 266 pontiffs in total. Pope Francis was known for his progressive views. Overall, 72% of Catholics in the US saw Pope Francis as a symbol of change. For now, papal duties are taken up by Cardinal Kevin Farrell until a new pope is elected. Pope Francis died on the 21st of April, aged 88, making him the third oldest head of state worldwide before he passed away. The Pope is elected by the cardinals, who are younger than 80 years old, in a secret vote taking place in the Sistine Chapel. The cardinals assemble there for as long as it takes until one candidate gets 2/3 of the votes. After each term, all voting ballots are burned, resulting in black smoke if the vote was unsuccessful and white smoke if a pope has been elected.